Okay, I'm going live right now on the other platform.
All right, hold on. Let me get over there and click over.
Can you make me the co-host so I can start doing the recording so we can cut up the snippets? And I think She Crypto's here and Kino is here. I think their team is here.
I think I made you co-host already.
No, it still say I'm speaker.
Okay. Send it to Street Crypto too. Let me see here. Sorry for the delay, guys.
Okay, so before we start, I want to give a full disclaimer. We are live streaming into Five Social Network, and also we'll be recording the space in Twitter Spaces, but we'll be recording on another app so that we can cut it up in snippets for future promo. And so, knowing this, when you grab the microphone, know that we are recording you, and we're gonna cut up the snippets to promote this space and also Kino.
Awesome. What's going on, everybody? Kino, we were supposed to interview you guys last week, but due to unforeseen circumstances, we had to reschedule for this week. And just want to say I'm glad you guys are here. I just went over the white paper, and you guys are doing big things.
Man, we are excited.
It's a great time. It's a great time to be in this space, man. It's like the gold rush for Web3 and Film 3 and the metaverse.
Yeah, it's
what a time to be alive.
It's amazing. This is one of the most exciting technologies and one of the most exciting opportunities for innovation in every industry. I mean, music, film, the arts for sure, but I mean, like, things are going to be revolutionized that we can't even begin to imagine now. I'm curious to see ticketing and real estate and like commodities rather. All kinds of amazing things. I'm very, very excited about how this is going to transform the world, but specifically film and television.
Awesome. I was on the reading a little bit about your guys' beginnings on the white paper. And what I like to do every interview, I like to ask our guest, just give us a little back history about your life and what inspired you to get into the film business, and just go into that a little bit for us.
Yeah, for sure. So I had a very unusual childhood. I was born into a cult that didn't allow us to go to the movies or own a TV or listen to music or, play sports or participate in like those kind of normal activities. And so I grew up in a very, very sheltered childhood. And then at 17 years old, I realized, like, oh no, I'm in a cult. I need to figure out my life. And so I went to my buddy and I was like, hey, I want to watch some movies. I understand that the Bible is full of like genocide and violence. There's a greater moral arc. That's what movies are. I want to watch some movies. And so that afternoon, we snuck down to Blockbuster, which was still a thing. And we rented a copy of The Matrix. And I literally had a red pill moment as I watched Neo get unplugged from his false reality. And it was so perfect of a metaphor for my life and all of the crazy things that I was experiencing. And it was totally mind-bending. It broke my brain in the best possible way. And I didn't know it at the time, but movies that actually changed my life at that point. Like I was fundamentally thinking differently. And anyway, once you come out of the Matrix, it's really difficult to go back. So I knew I had to kind of figure out my life. And I looked around, and the real opportunity that I saw before me was the U.S. military, because I came from kind of an impoverished background and I needed to pay for an education and figure out life. So I joined the U.S. Army, having never been cursed at. Which was its own insane experience. And I really fell in love with the military because it was an opportunity for me to expand beyond my limited world. And so I was really good at it. I was the Soldier of the Year for the state of Tennessee, and then Region 3 in 2008. I was non-commissioned officer of the year in 2011. And I found myself sitting in the Pentagon across from the Sergeant Major of the Army. And he was like, Fannin, you need to go to college and get a degree so you can get promoted faster. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. I was convinced that I was going to do 20 years in the military and retire. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to scratch this artistic itch and get a degree in screenwriting. And as you may have guessed, that's way freaking better than being in the Army. So in 2014, I got out and came to LA to get my MFA at Loyola Marymount. And then halfway through that program, I sold a show to Netflix with Matt Damon and Peter Berg, and it was the most amazing experience of my life. I got to write, act, and executive produce my own show, and Matt Damon FaceTimed my mom and dad to tell them that we had sold the show. And my mom had not seen any of Matt's movies, so she didn't know who he was. And my dad had just watched the Bourne trilogy. So he was like, the only thing that came out of his mouth was, oh my God, it's Jason Bourne. And it was such an amazing experience. But it was interesting because as I was the executive producer on that show, they ended up firing the showrunner, and they didn't really like replace him. And so I ended up running production meetings on my very first show. And I got just such an indoctrination into the business of film and television, not just the writing. And what I found was that this industry is like really inefficient. And there's this really crazy thing called Hollywood accounting, in which, a lot of the studios are actually not paying royalties to artists. They're using these accounting practices that allow them to show film and TV shows that have brought in millions and even billions of dollars in revenue, but they show them as a loss. And that blew my freaking mind. And I was like, this is insane. And so I continued to work in the industry for several years. Most recently, I wrote a pilot with Jimmy Kimmel that was based on my best friend's real life. And then I had a movie that just dropped that I got to act in and co-produce along with Nate Boyer. And anyway, I've been in the industry for a while, and I was just really blown away by the whole way that this process worked. And I realized, like, oh, there's a huge opportunity here, because this is a world that is extremely inefficient. It really hasn't been the model, the economic model hasn't changed since, I want to say, the 1930s when it was set up. And there's been some few things that have happened, like streaming and that sort of thing. But honestly, the streaming services ended up taking the model that the studios had and overcomplicating them. And so I just saw a lot of opportunity to make things better. My brother, David, who's listening in here right now, he's a genius. He basically coded TSA PreCheck, all the biofacial recognition software and stuff. That's his technology. He had told me about this crazy thing called cryptocurrency a few years ago. He got me into Ripple and a few other things, but more specifically, there was this token called Elongate, and it was a charity token. And I was like, oh, I love this idea. There are people who are trying to do good in the world and build financial vehicles to like make their world better. And I thought that was really awesome. And then as I started thinking about how blockchain could transform our industry, I was actually writing the pilot with Jimmy when Elongate ended up donating several $100,000 to a charity that Jimmy was a part of. He and Mark Rober, who's a fantastic engineer and a great YouTuber, they were raising money for charity, and so for autism. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. My two worlds are combining. So I reached out to Austin Worrell, who is my co-founder now, along with David. and we were just talking through how this cryptocurrencies and the underlying smart contracts could be used in a better way and to make our industry more effective. And we were like, okay, let's raise for a movie. We sat down, we started building it out. We quickly realized that the better idea was to build a vertical and onboard all of these amazingly talented people that I had met in Hollywood so that they could actually own their own projects. And so that's what we did. And that's my life story and the company pitch in like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes.
Brother, I am sitting here. Your life is really a movie in itself, bro. Like
Yeah.
you escaped the cult, never seen a movie before. You told somebody, show me some movies. You got inspired. You went to the military, never been cussed at before. Did
Yeah.
a hell of a job. Went into the film industry, made a movie, and it got picked up by Matt Damon, you said, or you partnered with Matt?
Yeah, I actually created it with Matt. So my best
Who
friend,
does that?
I know, man. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. That's what I say. I'm so fortunate, man. Like, I've lived a crazy life, but I really do believe. I believe that, like, you know, our childhoods, our experiences in this one trip that we have, you know, in this existence, it's so shaped by our experiences. And I think a lot of times narratives and the stories that we tell ourselves, that's what changes the world, man. That's what gives us motivation, and that's what demotivates us. And I'm very grateful that my parents instilled in me a belief that we can do literally anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's really the secret right there. Like, once you realize, you know, you are the master of your own destiny, and you really can manifest and do with whatever you want to do, you know, your whole entire life changes. But
yeah,
you know, we are conditioned to believe that is not the case. You know what I'm saying? So many people get trapped in this rat race and this slave mentality, and they never are able to accomplish their dreams because they just didn't have the time, and they were scared to believe in the first place.
Yeah. And I consider myself so very fortunate. Like, I've lived a lot of life, you know what I mean? Like, I have experienced the depths of poverty, and also I've been able to dine at Craig's with billionaires. And that experience I am very grateful for, because there's something about you know, those hard times that I think made me think differently and a little bit more scrappily. You know, like, I know how to live life, but I also know how to appreciate what I have today because of the past. And I think, you know, I'm just very fortunate that my parents and my upbringing, and, you know, maybe my, I don't know if it's, you know, biological, but whatever my disposition is, it happened to be anchored toward belief. And I want to share that with as many people as possible, because I truly believe that if you will change your narrative, you will change your life. And that's what movies are, man. That's what I'm so excited about, what we're doing and the opportunity to change film and television. And you know, Austin, I see you're up here now. I would love you guys to meet Austin. He is a badass. He doesn't brag on himself enough. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that charity token. Elongate. There was 500 million market cap, and it's 500 at its peak, 500,000 holders. Austin, you want to hop up here and share your story with the friends and fam?
Yeah. Hey, how's it going, everybody?
What's going on, Austin? Come on up here.
Yeah, I'm walking up to the front. You just can't see me. Maybe you can hear me. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I'm a kid originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. I grew up wanting to be a actor in the film and TV space. Did everything from voice lessons to acting lessons to gymnastics to tap dance. A lot of theater school, a lot of theater. But when I was finishing high school, my parents' medical practice ran into some pretty tough legal issues, and I get a call from my dad one day right before I go to college, and he says, "Hey kid, you're on your own, figure it out." And from then on, I truly have been fully on my own. And I just remember this feeling of wondering why the lawyers didn't sort of save us. I remember there were a lot of lawyers involved with this whole thing that happened with my family, and I was like, they should have fixed this whole thing, right? That was their job. And so I decided, well, I'm going to go be a lawyer. I'm going to give up on that sort of dream of being the next Zac Efron or whatever the hell I thought I was going to be back in the day. And I'm going to go be a lawyer. And so I can always defend those whom I love. I can defend myself. And hopefully I can champion those who don't have the resources that others do in this sort of system that seems to favor some people over others in many ways. And so I went to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. I then went and got my master's at the London School of Economics. And then I finally am finishing my law degree at the University of Southern California Gould School of Law here in Los Angeles. I've been very fortunate to study with some really smart, brilliant people who care a whole hell of a lot about the world. And along that journey, I also launched two different startups prior to Kino app with Daryl, and that exposed me to this world of building. And I was like, wow, you can really build technology that makes people's lives better and changes systems. And so when Daryl and I sat down and started thinking about how can we utilize Web3 to disrupt the old Hollywood model and to make a more equitable and sustainable industry that's championing all the stories that the world needs to hear, I was sort of like, wow, this is the literal dream job. I could not think of something better. This harkens back to my dreams as a kid of being somebody working in the Hollywood space. This enables me to use my lawyer skills to protect those who matter the most, and at the same time, I get to design some really cool tech with some really smart people that I think is going to make a lot of people's lives better off, not just on the economics, but a lot of fans. It's going to bring joy to a lot of folks. It's going to make social impact felt worldwide with the kinds of stories that we're able to tell. And yeah, here we are on a Twitter space chatting about sort of the future of film and TV.
That's dope. That's incredible, man. The sentiment for the virtual film festival, and it's crazy how energy and frequency works, right? Like, it's all of our guests that we have on here, sometime in their life they have like this type of awakening, and it wakes them up to like their higher calling, or um what they're supposed to do in life. It's like they break away from the system. And all of the people that have come on this virtual film festival that have done amazing things, and that are doing amazing things, share the same sentiment when it comes to their history and their upbringing. And I just think that's so dope that we all have that in common.
Absolutely. I love to see how, there's film, the military, there's people from all walks of life that gravitate into these different areas. And what I love about like Web3 specifically is that these are early adopters. These are people who believe in a better future and tomorrow. These are people who have probably walked a lot of life and experienced a lot of things, and now they're able to contextualize and understand and see this opportunity. And it's very cool to see people who are trying to change their world.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen yet, but
a lot of the pioneers. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, along those lines, Netflix just released a really great limited series called Playlist, and it's the story of Spotify. And it's really cool to watch back the journey of Web 2 at the very beginning and sort of hear the story of Daniel Ek, the Swedish founder, who, when he founded Spotify, it was because he loved music and he wanted to create a world in which artists could bring their music sort of directly to the consumer. And they were trying to combat the studio system in the music space and also piracy. And it was a beautiful beginning and origin, but then the show does a great job. And this isn't spoiling anything because it's just true to life and history. We now see that actually a lot of those companies, they made these deals with the studio systems that are just hurting artists, because streaming is the number one reason why artists struggle to pay their bills, both on the music side and on the film side. Because at the end of the day, the ones who are making all the money are the studios. They're the ones that are getting paid by the music streaming services. They're the ones that are getting paid when it comes to subscribers coming in the door on Netflix or Hulu or whatever. And it's the artists, the ones who are quote unquote making the product. I hate calling art that, but that's how they see this, who aren't getting equitably paid as a response. And so what I get excited about in watching a show like that is saying, hey, you guys tried and you failed. And now it's our time to step up to the plate and say, hey, we've got even better technology. It's 10 years later. We have the same energy, if not more, because we see that vision for the future, but now we're going to go execute on it. And I think that this is the time when we get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so exciting, dude. I was gonna say the exact same thing. It's like looking at the history and the intention behind it. But what I think is also fundamentally different is that we now, like, I have personally experienced and understand how this works, and I think that there's a huge opportunity here to build in an infrastructure and financially incentivize people to do the right freaking thing. And this market is expanding so rapidly. There's so much opportunity here that we can carve out slices of the pie for everyone. So instead of us being in competition with one another, a competition between us and the studios, we can actually run in the same direction. We can actually create a financial model where we're financially incentivizing everyone to work together and to do it more efficiently and more effectively.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
She Crypto here, filmmaker and music maker. And the issue here is people are not really able to even survive off of their art, even established artists. You know, I've worked with people. I actually completed my first feature film. I made it all by myself, you know, everything. And I can tell you that all of this is like a serendipitous time. Like everything is falling in line. And so I'm interested in this particular platform and how it's going to be different than a lot of the other, like, I guess, platforms. If you can break down like the infrastructure of Kino and, you know, how would it benefit, like, you know, like somebody like myself, Midwest filmmaker, you know, hands on deck.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Wait,
I
first,
want to.
first. I heard Midwest. What part of the Midwest?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Oh,
All right, so you're a little more north than me, but as an Ohio boy, I'm very, very proud Midwesterner, even though I live in California now. Anyway,
You go.
sorry, dude.
No, that's great. Listen, I share your frustrations with the industry. I have a friend of mine who created $1 billion franchise, and he made $600,000. I have another friend of mine who had the most watched show on Netflix for months and months and months, 480 million views in just a few months, and he's struggling to pay his rent. Like, this is not equitable. And so that was actually, you know, everybody's saying start with the why. And so when Austin and I sat down and we started looking at the thing that we were trying to fix, what we were trying to fix, and the thing that we were trying to solve for is this exact problem. That this is not a sustainable industry for so many of my friends. I have so many talented people who have helped create billions of dollars in value for these massive studios, and they have been shut out and run out of town, and they have struggled because it's a gig economy where you're struggling from one job to the next. And so when we sat down, what we did is we were like, okay, this industry is completely inefficient. How can we, one, make it more efficient, bring in more capital early, and then also give everyone the ability to run in the same direction and financially incentivize them. And so what we've done, Austin, do you want to talk a little bit about the offerings that we have specifically?
I mean, I think that first and foremost, I would say if we look at, let's say the 90s, talk about Friends and their cast, they are still making at least $1 million a year on quote unquote back end, right? Future profits, because that show keeps getting streamed on nauseam. And it should, it's a great show. I love Friends. But then you look at like the cast of Euphoria, for example, they were all paid fees up front, given very little to 0 points on the back end. And they're seeing no future recurring payments and profits from that show going forward, even though Euphoria is one of the most popular shows, out there currently, or was. And so what we've seen is this huge shift. And we actually, shout out to Stephen, our creative director, on our Instagram today, an amazing post about the Hollywood Reporter, I believe, is reporting on this, about how we are seeing such a shift in the industry to one where everybody, or at least some people, I won't say everybody, above the line. So there was still a problem with below the line back in the day. But let's just say, for intents and purposes, most people were able to see future profits back in the day, whereas now nobody does. The studios are the ones that are seeing it all. And you come in for a job, you might get paid what they're saying is more upfront, but really in the long term, it's not. It's pennies on the dollar compared to what the overall amount of capital that was paid to that artist would have been. And so we look at that and we say, hey, that's not just unfair, that's not sustainable. At the end of the day, if artists are struggling from project to project, that means that you have artists who are leaving the industry. You have some of the most brilliant minds who are saying, I can't do this anymore. Or in order to keep it up, I have to take on 3 other jobs, or I have to, start advertising for giant corporations and shoe companies and restaurants, and then they're not focused on the art. And so that's just a bad system that's in place. And what it's also done, ironically, is it means all these companies are paying so much money up front for stories and art that they're so focused on hits that they're not even sure whether or not it's going to be successful. And so they've actually, it's kind of silly on their end as well. They're paying a huge upfront cost for something that everybody should have just participated in together. So then if you go create something that, hey, maybe it's just not as successful and you don't make as much, everybody sort of wins and loses together. And so ironically, even for the streamer, it's not an optimized model. And so what we said when we sat down is, how do we solve for this? Well, let's create a world in which there is a win-win-win scenario. The artists, us as a company, the streamers, everybody who's involved is able to win together, because the pie is one that is growing. I mean, the entertainment industry is over $200 billion right now. It's about to grow to be over 400 billion by 2026, I believe. And that means that there is so much money out there that could be divvied up more equitably, that more people in the industry could see proper payments. And yet what we're seeing is the opposite. We're seeing more and more of the systems that have all the leverage and power keeping the control. And so how do we solve for this? Well, we bring fans in from the start, community. So I saw my project, which was a meme token last year, that was charity focused. What we did is we had a cryptocurrency, we charged fees on the trading, and then we donated that money to charity. We had over 500,000 people get on board, trade the token. We reached over 500 million market cap. And I thought that was insane. I was like, what in the world? How is this possible? Well, it's just possible because that is the spirit of Web3. It is, hey, I want to be part of that community because I believe in their mission and I believe in where they're going. And that same can be true for film by film, show by show. And so we say, hey, we offer three things to the fan because not every fan is the same. You can be, let's say we're going to create a movie together, if we're going to call it the Starseed film. Starseed film, you could be a part of it in three different ways. As a fan, you could be an investor. You could buy shares, so you profit alongside the cast crew when the movie gets sold or licensed, etc. in the future. Or maybe you're not an investor, but you're like, hey, I just want to be part of this community and I would love to go to the red carpet premiere of the cast and crew. You could buy your ticket to the event. Or you could buy the right to a certain prop. So the example we give is, if Kino was around when Star Wars was produced, you would have been able to buy the right to Luke's lightsaber before production even started, and then it would have been sent to you afterwards. And if you have any one of those three different things, you now are a community member exclusively to that film. Nobody else is. And you're going to get behind the scenes access. You're going to get AMAs of the cast and crew. You're going to be behind the scenes and on the front lines of the filmmaking process, just as a traditional financier might. But in this case, it's just fans who have said, hey, yeah, I want to support this thing through a couple different ways. And what's really cool about that is that then proves to the world that this film has a following. It's what we call proof of concept, sort of like in the tech space. We've proven that this is something that the world wants to see. So then when you go to Netflix, you can say, hey guys, this is great for you. You're going to get new subscribers. People are going to want to see this on your platform, instead of going out and spending a ton of money on things that you're not quite sure if the world even wants to see yet. And so it's kind of flipping the model a bit on its head, where at the end of the day, we're bringing in money from fans at the beginning that previously people weren't tapping into. Because at the end of the day, we all can be early adopters, especially Web3 folks. And it doesn't make any sense that, I can't invest in a movie, but JP Morgan and their big giant investing arm can. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? Anybody should be able to invest in film, or anybody should be able to be part of the process early on. And so we say, hey, community-based economics is what we call it, is the future. This gives us the ability to bring a lot of money into what is usually a very expensive project. Films are not necessarily cheap, but when we bring all that money together, we then give the artist the control back, because it's no longer the artist going and asking the studio, who is a $1 trillion entity, hey, would you please give me fair ownership in my own project? The answer is usually always going to be no. But instead, when you're the one who is sort of running the mission, you have the leverage and you're able to sort of get that fair ownership. And for us as a platform, we're the technology provider. We're not the studio. And so we are incentivized to bring as many amazing projects on platform as possible to support artists, so that they go out in the world and say, hey, Kino is the best place to launch a film because I actually got real ownership. I saw future profits. That was a success story for me, right? And so that's where we see that win-win-win scenario in place.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me. What about the whole distribution process? How you guys
Yeah.
that And so you're basically saying that you guys are going to be like in the infrastructure, there's going to be like a royalty functionality to it.
Yeah, so it depends on obviously how that film ends up. So let's say it goes to the box office and then it goes to like an AVOD window and then it goes to a streaming service. That could be one scenario, or it could just go to Venice Film Festival and Netflix says, "Hey, I want this," and they buy it outright. Or maybe Apple. We could use the example of Coda, which was made for 10 and sold for 25. So depending on how the scenario works, you have that right to your percent ownership enshrined in the blockchain, and that right is going to be transferred to you in terms of either a payout. So let's say you own 10% of a 25 million dollar payout, well then you would get your 2.5 of that 25 million. Or let's say it recurs multiple times over. It's like, oh hey, we just landed a $5 million deal with Tubi, and then we had a $5 million deal with Netflix, and then it got sold to Apple. It would be recurring royalties payments. Either way, blockchain makes all of that easier, because now it's not just papers that live in a filing cabinet in lawyers' offices that nobody has the time or probably resources to read through. Now it's like, hey, I can point to this. It's on a ledger that's transparent. Nobody can really argue with it. And also that ledger has the ability to now send me payments, right? Because I mean, blockchain is just a digital pathway for finance. Did that help answer the question a little bit?
She crypto?
I think her question was specifically about helping acquire distribution. So I'll just speak to that a little bit. So right now we have 10 projects that we're ready to launch starting at the beginning of next year. And we're talking about, this is all with like Emmy, Golden Globe, or Oscar winning or nominated talent attached. So these are like very high level individuals who have already made billions of dollars collectively for the studio system. And we want to start with that top-down model. But to answer your question specifically, we have an AVOD window set up with one of our projects. So we have basically some distribution in place. We're working with sales agents and representatives. Everybody has their own play. But my goal is that in 2 or 3 years, we're going to be able to launch almost any project. And we're going to have accumulated, that word is tough, accumulated enough users on our platform to be able to come together, and then we can put in front of them new talent and new ideas and new stories. And I think that will be really, really helpful, because our end goal is democratization and the ability to help everyone, but we have to take that intermediate step. And I think you're seeing a lot of even like layer one individuals talk about this like it's a programmatic step in the direction of total democratization. Because right now what we have is a system that is completely centralized, and it's an impossible thing to get around. But if we can take steps in the right direction, we're going to be able to move, and as a wave, as a movement, everyone's heading in that direction. We're going to be able to catch volume, but we have to do it as an intermediate step. So the goal here, again, is to give you the ability to come in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to help you through every step of this process. So we're taking the relationships that we have with talent and with sales agents and with everyone else, and we're going to help shepherd you through, because, I'm sure, as you know, as a middle American filmmaker, it is so damn hard to break into this industry. So much of it is built around relationships. And if you're not in this epicenter, it's very difficult to be able to create the relationships that are meaningful and move your project forward. I feel so very fortunate that I've been surrounded by people who have, one, that I have developed my craft enough that I was ready when the opportunity came. But then when that opportunity was there, individuals came in and they championed us in the best possible way. And I'm so grateful for that. And I want to pay it forward. I want to be able to give everyone the opportunity to put their product out there, because, like you said, it is difficult to just live on your art. There are so many talented actors that I know who have been on 5 or 6 series as series regulars, and they're still having to pick up like day shifts at a coffee shop to pay the bills. And that is not the future that I want to live in. I want to create opportunities for everyone, and this is something that we can do together.
That's incredible, man. I think you guys are on the right path. and you guys are going to do incredible things. Just looking through the white paper, amazing work you guys are doing. Just want to give you guys your flowers, man. I see you guys being around for quite a long time in this Web3 film space. Like, kudos. I do have a question though. Um, there are a lot of podcasts that are, popping up, and I've never really seen like a film company get behind a podcast. It's usually like Spotify, um, maybe, they stick to YouTube, getting the YouTube revenue. Would Kino be interested in maybe dipping you guys' feet in the podcast game?
I think that's a great question, actually. And there are several pieces of IP that have transferred like from podcasts to film and TV shows. And I think that the future of Web3 is actually going to be built around IP and IP libraries. Like, you're already seeing some people kind of exploring the space. Netflix is actually even doing this, where it's like, hey, I've got this series. Now we're going to create a game around the series, right? So I think podcasts, TV shows, films, all of these things are going to become very much centered around the piece of IP and who owns that IP. And then we're going to see like a single idea take on many, many forms. And what they've done with the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a great example. That lives as comics, and it lives as freaking roller coasters. You know what I mean? So while I would say that I could definitely see a world in which we might expand into that in the future, our heart is based in fixing the current system of film and television. And guys, after we've done that, the sky's the freaking limit. Like, I'm excited to get to the point where we can think through all of the amazing things, because the second and third effects of this technology, this is going to transform the arts, and not just the arts. Like, it's going to transform the entire world. But I think that first intermediate step is we've got to fix the system that is placed, because like She Crypto is out here struggling to make it in the indie space, and there needs to be space for her to come in and say, hey, I've got this great idea, and maybe I don't have all the right attachments yet, or maybe I don't know how to get in the right conversations with the right distributors, but I have this thing and I know that it's great, and I've got a fan base that believes in me, and then we can help her champion that and bring it to fruition. And so I think the short answer is maybe.
Awesome. I love that answer. We just started a podcast within the metaverse. We're like on our second episode, and we've got a whole bunch of good reviews. So I just had to ask that question. I never really seen like a film company become the machine behind a podcast, and I thought that would be interesting, for one of these film companies to do that. So I just wanted to ask your opinion.
Yeah. Brent Montgomery, who is at Wheelhouse. If you don't know Brent Montgomery, he's a king of the alternative television space, and now he's done scripted. In fact, when I was writing my show with Jimmy Kimmel, Wheelhouse was involved with that. And they do have podcasts. I know they do the Hype House show and stuff now too. But a lot of times what these are companies. So you may not see the film company on the front of it, but they're definitely behind it, and they're helping support a lot of times in infrastructure and those sorts of things. And I think, it will be interesting to see how many, as the branding changes, right? So it's like very apparent that this is the film company as opposed to like that sister company or what have you. So I'm curious to see how the space evolves.
So can you also tell us a little bit about the founding membership perks? Like the founding membership. I noticed that you guys have a lot of info about it. I'm curious about that model.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, when we were creating this, our goal was to create a core community of individuals who love film, who love television, who believed in the mission of us, and wanted to help be the early supporters. And so we wanted to make sure that our early supporters had a way of, one, getting involved early, and then two, reaping the benefits of being involved early. And so, as we're beginning to get ready to launch all of these film and TV shows with these giant A-listers, we were like, okay, we're going to be oversubscribed at some point, and we really need to give people a way that if they're in early, that they can kind of secure their place in line. And so that's what the founding membership did. Is it's a access to our community, and you get all kinds of things with that. One, it's a community of actors, writers, producers, film financiers, etc. So it's a really great community to be a part of. And then you also get, in the Web3 term is that whitelist access, that early access to our offering. So kind of, 48 hours before anyone else, you're able to get on platform and invest and buy that collectible or buy that ticket to the movie that you want to go see.
Well,
Awesome.
Dale, you're forgetting probably the best part. Every year we're going to be hosting what we call our Kino annual party events. Not sure exactly what the right terminology is for everybody yet, but that will grow into a celebration of all of our projects yearly. So think of it kind of like our own little film festival over the years, which with the amazing artists that we're working with our first projects, it is an event that you would want to be at. I can say that much. We can't announce who's in the movies, but some really cool folks. And so our founding members get access to that. It's not an event that's open to the public. It's only open to our partners, actors, directors, filmmakers, our founding members, and the Kino team and the Kino guests. So that's another really cool perk, is that it's not just a digital community, it's also in real life, and you get to sort of be a VIP on our platform for as long as you hold it, which can be for life. So it was a way for us to really say, hey, for our earliest believers, you're always going to have a special place on the Kino platform, because you believed in us early and you saw the mission and you wanted to be a part of it before everybody else saw all the big names and was like, hey, okay, this is the cool thing now. I think of it like when my friends were telling me to hop on TikTok, when it was kind of small and not very big, and I didn't, of course, but some of my friends did, and it's kind of the same kind of offering for us.
Did that answer your question, Tonya?
Oh yeah, it's really like I always talk about this stuff because I think it's important, when people are able to connect and be able to be part of an event, or because I'm from the old school, like about crowdfunding. How you crowdfunding a movie? How you go crowdfund this? And now, we went from crowdfunding. I remember when it was happening 10 years ago until crowdfunding films. I know a lot of people did. I actually was helping somebody else too crowdfund it, their film. So now, we got Web3. So it's bringing it into another new level.
Absolutely. The ability to aggregate capital from communities is so massive in Web3. And you know what? We should have mentioned this before. And Austin, also, I know you have a lot of cool details about actually crowdfunding and how that is expanding. But I just want to point out the other really cool thing about the Kino model is that we're not crowdsourcing films, in the idea that like you hope you fill up the needle and maybe we'll go make this movie. We have alternative financing in place for every single one of the movies that we launch. So if you come on board and you buy a collectible, it's not like you hope that this movie may get made in the future, possibly, fingers crossed. It's, hey, you buy this collectible, we're going to make this movie no matter what. And so that there's some intrinsic some capital that's already put behind it. The individuals who are making that movie are gonna make that movie. And so it's not just crowdfunding on our end, but it's something that you can be consciously sure of when you're making that investment.
And like, how many NFTs will you guys be launching would be like part of your events? Because I see NFTs as just like really just even when you go to a concert or you see a movie that was just incredible, you save those tickets, right? So I'm kind of curious what you guys are doing for the NFTs.
So each community around each film is going to be anywhere between 5,000 and probably 10,000 is really that upper limit. If you're a part of it, we want you to feel special. And that's the other reason why it's different from crowdfunding. This isn't hundreds of thousands of people that are involved. It really is a tight knit group of those first folks who said, hey, I love that story. I love the talent attached. I'm going to support this and be a part of it. And so of those three different kinds, each one is technically an NFT, but an NFT a different kind. We actually don't even use the term NFTs anymore. We call them smart contracted assets or smart contracts, because that's really what they are. If you own the right to a share, the NFT might look fancy, it might have a cool picture, but you didn't buy it because it was a picture. You bought it because it gave you the literal right to future profits, and it's just stamped on the blockchain. It's a digital smart contract to future profits. That's what it is. Or the ticket to the red carpet premiere. If you're holding one of those, the coolest thing is, like, I mean, a ticket is always a contract. It's like, I paid $100. I get to go sit in the VIP lounge at the next Avicii concert. Well, that's a terrible example because unfortunately Avicii has passed. I was thinking of that because I just watched playlists and Avicii was in the show. Wow, I'm entirely embarrassed now. That's terrible. I loved Avicii's work. Anyway, back to the story. With the collectibles, then those are also, authenticity can be recorded on the blockchain with smart contracts again. And so when you talk about how many total per project, anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000, but there are those different kinds. And so let's say the tickets might have variations, but the point is not that they are unique artwork in and of themselves. They're going to look really cool, but the point is that they give you that access that you didn't have before. So again, I think that's, like you said, the point that you can keep the ticket as memorabilia is also really important. And instead of it just sitting in your drawer at home, like, I have found so many tickets, particularly airplane tickets, I keep them because I like remembering that I went on these trips, and then I tell myself that I'll scrapbook one day, like my mother, and that's just literally never going to happen. But I have a box of them, and nobody ever sees them, so nobody ever knows that I did that thing, right? But now a digital NFT ticket is something that you could post on your Instagram, or you could show people that, hey, I did this thing and I went there. So if your friend is like, you were not at the red carpet premiere with Alan Richson, you can say, yes, I was. And you can pull up the blockchain and be like, look right there. That's me. Right. So just little ways in which, like you said, the digital technology is allowing us to do some of the things we've always done. You know, we are a very nostalgic group as humans. We like remembering places that we've been. We like capturing historical moments, and now we're able to do that with digital technology, and that's really cool.
Yeah, and also we have a big TV screen nowadays that you can like put
Exactly.
your all kind of stuff on there, especially your NFT. I mean, like all the I'm in South Florida, so we have our Basil's coming up, and I guess I've been sitting on in NFT spaces since February of 2021, and I've literally have been talking about this nonstop. So um, when Gino and I decided to get together, do the virtual film festival, and we talked about doing talk about NFTs and the film 3, and then She Crypto was actually our first guest, and then the three of us formed our continue growing, and that's why hearing you guys talk, enthusiasm that you have is just so powerful. And like I said, I see people doing that, because people do it with their pictures on their TV screens. I don't see why not as setting up something that they can just stream constantly their pictures. And
Yeah,
art is art.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I also see a world in which, like we're seeing PFPs, like these profile picture changes and that sort of thing. But I think that as this like metaverse and the augmented reality comes in as well, like art is art. Like that art may be something that you hang on your walls, and when you're wearing your new Apple device or your Oculus or whatever that is, there's a very real opportunity for us to also, just like in real life. I have these ridiculously large painted canvases that I threw up on my walls because I just love art, and I love like expressing myself through these weird pictures. And I think that's exactly the same thing that's going to happen, except it's so much cooler because when it's in my space, it's a story, it's a memory, it's an experience. Like, you will get to show the ticket. Yeah, that's cool. It looks cool. That's fine. But connected to that is the time that you walked the red carpet behind the cast and crew of a film that you supported and believed in years before. And you were part of the community, and you got to do an AMA with the director, and you got to have this incredible experience where you were getting updates from set. And then you got to sit down in the theater and watch that premiere. And then you went to a giant raging party afterwards. And by the way, we'll probably mint some of those memories at that party. It's going to be freaking sick. And so to me, it's like, we're creating more than just a piece of art. We are creating a world. We are creating narratives. We are creating experiences. And these are very personal things to us as humans. And to Austin's point, it's things we already do. We're just doing it a little bit better.
And I can go on about the t-shirts too. You know, collateral,
100%.
collateral.
I see Flinch is in the building, man. Shout out to them. If you guys haven't seen the Flinch movie, go check that out. Incredible movie, incredible talent. They are killing the whole film 3 scene right now, and just kudos to them for popping up and hanging with us.
Hell yeah, Kara. It's great to see you here too.
So this was an incredible space. I'm so glad that we finally got to do this with you guys. I'm completely blown away by what you guys are doing. And I can't wait to see more from you guys.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to come out and just hang with some fellow Film 3 individuals, people who are passionate about the industry, about movies, and, you know, also about making the world a little bit better of a place. You know, there's something that's very exciting to me about being able to make the film and TV industry more equitable, because, you know, from my little world, I really thought like, oh, if you were in film and television, if you were on Netflix, if you were on Disney, if you were, you know, in the movie theaters, you were rolling in dough. You had really made it. And then when I got here and I saw the state of the nation, I was like, oh, this is terrible. And I am so excited about the opportunity to come together and actually make a difference in our little part of the world. And I'm so excited to be on this journey with all of you.
That's awesome, man. And I don't know if anybody has told you this, but you definitely need to get on making your biopic, man, because your life is a movie, bro.
Thank you. You know, Jimmy Kimmel actually has suggested that we should do a TV show about it. And one day when we're able to finance it through Kino, I'm going to take him up on it.
Do that, man, because your story is incredible. I was reading the white paper, and I was like, nah, this can't be. He has to go more in depth about this on once he gets into space, and you did, man. And yeah, just incredible story.
Thank you all so much.
What I like to do at this time every week, I like to congratulate our guests and also present them with the golden movie ticket from Starseed Film and Music. You are now in the Starseed Film and Music Hall of Fame. I will get that to you after we complete this conversation. But yeah, man, congratulations to you guys again, and thanks for coming out.
Thank you so much. Very, very honored.
Big honor. It's a great time chatting with everybody. Yeah, just so cool to see so many like-minded folks who know that we can do better, and it really is together that we succeed and we champion the mission forward. This is not something that we can do alone as a Kino team. It's something we can do alone as a community here in this chat. It is something that we need to get the word out and continue to champion a better model, better storytelling, and really a better world at the end of the day. So thanks, everybody.
No doubt. Everybody follow everybody. And yeah, we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Same time, same place.
Thank you, everyone. Bye, everybody.